Hi everyone, I'm Ellie from Code of the Future, and today I'm going to be talking about how I landed my dream internship and give you a bit of application advice and interview advice and all stuff like that, so that hopefully you can land your dream internship too. So this video is going to be split into two parts. The first part is going to be incredibly short and it's just going to be me explaining what my internship was, and then after that I'm going to talk about my application advice and just general advice I would give if you're applying to internships or graduate jobs or just any job in general. So I have released a video previous to this video telling you exactly what I got up to on my internship, but essentially I was a programming space intern on the Space Placements and Industry scheme that was managed by the UK Space Agency, and I worked for a company called S&AO, and my project specifically, which is quite a mouthful, was FMCW Doppler Radar Profiler Data Post-Processing, and essentially I analysed and visualised data from an atmospheric observation system and visualised this with user capabilities, but I go into a lot more depth than what I did in the previous video, so if you are really interested in what that internship was about, then I've done a video on that if you are interested, so I'll put the link in the description box. But today I'm just going to talk to you about how I landed that internship and also how I landed some other internships that unfortunately got cancelled because of coronavirus. So as a bit of background, before securing this internship that I've just mentioned, I actually secured internships for software engineering, software development, aerospace engineering and research and development, but unfortunately they all ended up getting cancelled because of the pandemic, and so I did a last minute application to this space internship program and I was successful and managed to get it. So today I thought I'd give you a kind of a general overview, not just for this internship but for my kind of advice that I'd give throughout other internships as well, because obviously I applied to quite a few and I was fortunate enough to get a few as well, albeit they did get cancelled because of coronavirus. But I thought I'd just kind of give you some really handy advice that I wish I'd known before I did start applying to internships. So in terms of the advice I'm going to give you, I have broken it down into a few different areas, and I will explain what each of those areas mean and just give you a little bit more information. So the first thing I'm going to say is make sure you apply to a job that actually interests you. I found that when I was applying, I would apply to places that really interested me, companies that I knew a lot about, I'd done a bit of research into, and I was like, yes, definitely, I want to work for them. And then because I was worried about not getting those, I would then apply to other internships that I had no interest in whatsoever. And what I found was those internships I was genuinely interested in were the ones that went the best for me, because when you approach things with the mindset of, well, I don't really, I'm not really a fan of this firm, I don't really want this job, I want this other job, your approach and your kind of attitude towards that affects how you interview and things like that. So what I would say is, first off, when you go and apply to somewhere that you know you're going to love, or just somewhere that interests you. You look at the firm, you think, yes, their values align with my values. Just make sure you've done your research into the firm that you want to apply for or the company, and make sure that the job they're advertising is something that you would love to work in. For me personally, I love anything to do with tech, so I was kind of drawn into a lot of different areas. I found that I was actually more interested in areas that were to do with Python compared to things like HTML, JavaScript and CSS, obviously web development, but that was just my personal preference. If you have an area that you prefer, then go into that area. And this is not just applicable for people that want to go into a tech job. No matter what job you're going into, make sure it's something that interests you. That's the first piece of advice I can give, because you will find that when it comes to the application process, the jobs that you really want and the ones that you put the effort into and the attitudes towards, positive attitudes, those are more likely going to be the ones that you're going to get. So that's the first piece of advice I would give. The second piece of advice is find a job that interests you, but make sure that when you apply you have the minimum requirements that they're asking for. This is something that a lot of people kind of make the mistake of. They will look at a job and think, well, I really want this job, but I don't have these requirements that they're asking for. And then people wonder why they get rejected. That's the thing that I would say is find a job that you love, but make sure that you can say to the employer, yes, look, you're asking for this, I have this. There's no point applying for a job where you don't meet the minimum requirements, because you will get rejected straight away, which is sad. I know there were a lot of internships that I really wanted to apply for, but I just didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the experience. And something to say with that is, you may not have the experience then when you're applying, but if say you're applying in your second year, you can then apply in your third year. You can spend that whole year, apply for an internship, hopefully get it, and if there's a dream internship you want and you don't think you have the qualifications for it, or you don't have the qualifications for it, you can spend that whole year gaining those qualifications. You know, if they're looking for a specific programming language, you can teach yourself that programming language over that year. But what is important is apply for jobs that you enjoy and apply for jobs that you know you meet the requirements for. If anything, you need to be looking for jobs where you kind of exceed the expectations, because that's essentially what they'll be looking for. A candidate that doesn't only meet the minimum requirements, but shows you that, you know, look, I've done this, I've done all of these things, and I've exceeded what you're expecting for this position. So that's another piece of advice I would give, is make sure you're applying to job roles that are suited to you and your skill sets. Now, the third point I'm going to come on to is to do with the application in general. So across a whole range of different applications, they can ask for a CV, which is kind of mainly the one that they ask for. So you can be asked for a CV, a cover letter, and sometimes you actually get questions. So they'll say, tell me about a time you've worked as part of a team, something like that. Now, what's really important with all of those is to tailor what you're submitting to the job you're applying for. So if you're applying to a job to do with software engineering, tailor your CV to show the experience you have that is relevant to that job. You know, tailor your cover letter, so when you write it, make sure that when you're writing it, it includes the information that they've asked for. The whole idea behind the first kind of step in the application process is telling them, selling yourself, is telling them, look, you're asking for these qualities, I have them. I'm going to put them on my application and I'm going to show you that I do have them. You know, when they're looking through the applications, they'll think, yes, tick, 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 you know, you've ticked all the boxes. Let's say, for example, they want an individual who is really good at team skills. There's no point in putting on your CV, I'm independent, I've done this, X, Y, Z, independence. Talk about teamwork, talk about times you've used teamwork. If they're looking for somebody who has a lot of knowledge in this particular area, you know, say you have loads of knowledge of programming, but say they're only looking for one particular programming language, then you will hone in on that one programming language, say exactly what you've done, and then just, you know, say I also have knowledge of these programming languages. There's no point in selling yourself across everything. You need to hone in on the areas that they're looking for and add that to your CV, cover letter, and the questions that are asked. So that's point number 3, is tailor your CV, cover letter, and just application in general to the job that you're applying for. That is the best piece of advice that I can give in terms of the application when you first send it off. Now, the next thing I'm going to say is, it kind of follows on, and it's about interviews. So when you have an interview, the best thing you can do is be yourself and show how passionate you are about the area you're applying for. So an interview is a chance for you to show your passion for that area. If it's tech, show them how much you love tech, show them what you've gone, you know, above and beyond to achieve in terms of tech. This is a chance for you to be yourself and for them to get to know you. Don't try and put on a front. Don't try to be anybody that you're not. People buy people, and that's something that my nan always says, is that people buy people. And if you pretend to be somebody that you're not, they're less likely to want you. You need to be true to yourself and be honest. You need to be yourself, and that's the best piece of advice I can give in terms of interviews. Just show them how passionate you are about that given area, and you know, you won't go far wrong, because they can see that you have a passion, and they can see that even if you don't meet some of the qualifications, you have the passion to learn, you know, those specific areas that you may not have strengths in. Now, the penultimate thing I'm going to say, and this is across your whole application, is do your research. Do your research before you apply. Check that the company or the firm or wherever it is you're applying is somewhere you want to apply. You know, their values are aligned with your values. You know, say if you are a woman, you may want to check the gender pay gap. It's all things like this. You want to check that that firm is somewhere you want to work. You want to check that their work-life balance is good, or just anything that interests you about that company. Just, you want to check it over, because you would hate to apply for a company, get the job, and then hate it there. You know, that's the best thing to do, is do your research beforehand, find out whether it's somewhere you definitely want to work. If it is somewhere you want to work, then you've gained a lot of research ready to apply that to your application. The research applies for when you tailor your CV and everything. When it comes to the cover letter or the questions, include information about the firm or the place you're applying to. That's the best thing, because then they know you've done your research. And again, when it comes to the interviews, pick up on these kind of bits of information that you found about that firm. Interviewers, I've found, love it when you start a conversation, you know, especially at the end when they ask questions, when you ask questions about the firm itself, because they know you've done the research. So penultimate point, and very important point, is do your research. That is the best piece of advice amongst everything else I've said that I can give you, because then you know enough about the company and it'll just become easier for you to talk about things in interviews, and it shows that you have a genuine interest for that company itself. I found that when I've done the research, I'll often come away thinking, yes, I definitely want to work for them, I'm passionate about working for them because I've read all these things about it. So that's, you know, another piece of advice. And then the final piece of advice, which I said previously, is be yourself. I cannot stress that enough. Don't try and be somebody you're not. Be yourself. The interviewers and people seeing your application will see that you have a genuine passion. Don't pretend you enjoy things. Talk about the things that you do enjoy. If you're applying for a job that you genuinely love, that will come across in your interview if you be yourself. They're not looking for a specific person. Just be yourself. You know, like I said, people buy people, and that's the best piece of advice that I can give in terms of how you should compose yourself. You know, obviously be formal and everything, but just be yourself. You know, talk about things that are passionate to you, because then they can see that you are passionate, and being yourself is honestly the best thing that you can do. If you are in an interview, just relax, enjoy yourself. It's a learning experience at the end of the day, no matter the outcome. You know, I've come away from interviews before and thought, oh gosh, it's gone terribly, and then I've passed them. You know, it's all learning experience at the end of the day. You just need to relax and be yourself, and that's the best thing that you can do. And if you're prepared, then you will do amazing. So those are kind of the points that I would give when it comes to applying for internships, and how to tailor your CV, application advice, and also what happens, you know, when it comes to interviews and things like that. I hope this video has been useful, and for those of you that are going to be applying for internships or any job in general, then I wish you the absolute best of luck. You will do amazing and you'll smash it. You'll go and get your dream job. Just make sure you kind of pay attention to the things I've addressed in this video, and hopefully it will help you on your way to landing your dream internship. And as I said, good luck, you will do amazing. And if you enjoyed this video or you found it helpful, then please like, subscribe and comment, and I will see you all in the next video.